Okay, we still have a few people coming in, so I'll just wait a few seconds. Good morning and welcome to the Treasure Coast Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Stuart, Florida. Today is March 3rd, 2024. My name is Janet Rader and I'm your worship associate for today. We are a welcoming congregation. We welcome people of all gender identities, ethnicities, ages, and backgrounds. We're also on YouTube. Hi, YouTubers. To be put on our email list or to find out more information about us, go to our website at tcuuc.org. Note the email link to request our online newsletter. Please silence your cell phones. If we have any visitors, we would love it if you would come up to the microphone and tell us who you are, if you're comfortable in doing that. Do we have any visitors who are willing to do that? Okay, I don't see any hands, but know that you are so welcome. Our announcements are in the order of service you have hopefully picked up. And perhaps our most important announcement is an announcement that is going to be made by Kitty. And I think Kitty's going to come up to the microphone to do that.
I haven't been called important in many, many years, maybe by my mother. But this is an important announcement for us. Truman started it, and he has asked several of us to help him, and that is to start a table conversations program where people can sign up. The piece of paper that I'm holding right here is at the back of the next to the bulletin if you want to pick one up. It describes it. It's going to help us get to know each other better, enjoy the church together better, and we're going to be enrolling in this month. This month is enrollment time. Then once, we've got 10 so far. Real quickly, we got 10. And hopefully we have more people. And then in April, not before April, but in April, we will be putting people in groups. We'll be talking to y'all about what's the right way to do that, et cetera. Okay, so enrollment month, table conversations, making the church stronger and our relationships better and more fun and more enriching spiritually and all. So be sure and get this if you would. You'll communicate with me by email. And that's all I've got. Any questions? Well, good. Okay. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Kitty. And a couple of other announcements. Coming March 8th, that's this Friday from 5 to 7 p.m., we have John Mourne's Stubborn, you know the next word, coming in Heston Hall from 5 to 7. Bring your refreshments, your drinks, and so forth, and come. And we're only, asking you to visit the tip basket. So we're delighted that John is bringing his group back. Also on March 24th at 4 p.m., Jim Scott, who visited with us several weeks ago, is coming back. So we invite you to come back for his music. Big thanks to the people who have helped with the service. We are so pleased to have Bruce Ruby visit us from Rhode Island. To be back at the piano. Our greeters, Jackie Buckley and Janet Grote, and ushers, and our tech elf, Karina Poloni, and our tech support, Rachel Valentino. We thank the hospitality team, Joanne Leone and Marguerite Gregory, for the coffee and cookies. We are delighted that our own Ken Teixeira is in the pulpit today. And here is our prelude. Thank you, Bruce. Our chalice lighting words, we call forth the life of our faith by igniting our chalice. This spark of new beginnings invites us into a sacred space. These opening words come from our UU World magazine. Do not fear agitation, for agitation is the rhythm of life itself, to be put into motion, to be stirred. Do not fear the movements that decenter what you always thought permanent. You carry within the center of your understanding the compass to show you the way. Carry with you the love that will hold you, the vision that will guide you, the relationships to all beings, and the world that will ground you. Go in peace and in gentle agitation to stir the world to the side of love. And now our affirmation. Let us recite our affirmation, speaking the first verse and singing the second. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. From every
And now, let us share our joys and sorrows. Please step up to the microphone. Tell us your name first. Move a stone in our symbolic river of life. Janet, would you move stones? And try to keep it personal and brief.
You know me. For those who don't, I'm the minister here, Bob. I need to let you know, if you didn't read the update, that our beloved Martha Alfie at 98 died this past week. And we're going to celebrate her life next Sunday at 12:15. After the morning service, coffee break, and come back in here 12:15 next Sunday. I volunteered you for the refreshment time. That means you can't let me down. You got to make stuffed finger food for those that gather. Martha was really quite a presence here. She was one of the founding members. She and her husband Erling, who died not that long ago, she and Erling were part of the gathering group that got this group going. I'm told they met in their living room for a while. Martha and Erling had quite a storied life as orchestra members, and we'll talk about that when we talk about them next week. But we want to gather and celebrate her life and honor her, because it'll be our privilege to do that. Next Sunday, 12:15, refreshments. Also, I want to mention another person who's not personal, but I don't think this can go without being mentioned. A teenager named Nex Benedict died in Oklahoma a little while ago after being bullied in the high school. Now, Nex used the pronoun they and their, and her mother and grandmother said Nex, they were on their way to discovering who they were and letting people know who they were. This reminded me that a dozen years ago we had a leader here, a board president, a proud gay man named Ken George, a retired UPenn professor. Ken talked about bullying a lot, and we all agreed with him. More than once I thought, enough, Ken, enough. Well, this past death of a teen in America proves I was wrong, Ken was right, not enough. Children, teenagers are not feeling safe in America today because teenagers are not being safe in America today. It is really sad, and I feel that even though I didn't know them, but we don't want this happening, not in our America. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Is there anyone else that wishes to share a joy or sorrow? John.
Hi, I'm John, and I have two joys and one small sorrow to express. One joy is to meet Bruce in person for the first time. I really, the pleasure of meeting him over Zoom during COVID was really great. The second joy that I have is that my brother bought tickets to see Steely Dan and the Eagles, but we mainly were going for Steely Dan on Friday, and flew down and took me to that concert on Friday, and it was amazing. And music being central to my life, seeing Steely Dan, as he said, this will be our last opportunity, and they were amazing, and the Eagles were too. And then the sorrow is that, unfortunately, my lovely wife Donna, who is a prima donna with our band, has pneumonia, and so she won't be singing on Friday. She's going to be okay. She's at home, no fever or anything. So that's unfortunate. But however, we will have lots of dance music in the second set. So sorry, announcement, but.
Okay, we'll move a stone for you, John. Anyone else? All right, for those whose joys or sorrows are too private to share, Know that our hearts are with you, and we will move a stone for those. Okay. Today's responsive reading is number 440 by Philip Hewitt from the Fragmented World. From the fragmented world of our everyday lives, we gather together in search of wholeness. By many cares and preoccupations, by diverse and selfish aims, are we separated from one another and divided within ourselves. Yet we know that no branch is utterly severed from the tree of life that sustains us all. We cherish our oneness with those around us and the countless generations that have gone before us. We would hold fast to all of good we inherit, even as we would leave behind us the outworn and the faults. We would escape from bondage to the ideas of our own day and from the delusions of our fancy. Let us labor in hope for the dawning of a new day without hatred, violence, and injustice. Let us nurture the growth in our own lives of the love that has shone in the lives of the greatest of men and women, the rays of whose lamps still illumine our way. In this spirit we gather, in this spirit we pray. Now, there are many diverse forms of Buddhism around the world, but when you get right down to it, they are all after the same thing. It is about looking within to see how you create suffering and then getting freedom from that process. Your ego, that relentless self that looks at the world only through your own eyes. It is about seeing beyond yourself and recognizing the value of the unity of all things. Now we have a few moments to stop and look within, to confirm what His Holiness the Dalai Lama once said. He said, when you think everything is someone else's fault, you will suffer a lot. When you realize that everything springs only from yourself, you will learn peace and joy. Now we will sit briefly. And now we will sing our hymn, The Spirit of Life, humming the first verse and singing the second. Now, a church offers spiritual sustenance, but to do that, we need some financial sustenance. So I asked some volunteer ushers to step up and grab some brass plates. I see 1, 2, let's probably do it. And Bruce? Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, ushers. Today's sermon is called Compassion, the Holy Grail of Buddhism. Karina? Yeah. So, you might be wondering, obviously I chose the name because I was drawing a parallel between in Christianity, where you search for the Holy Grail, the thing that's so difficult to find but is wonderful when you find it. So you might wonder what this is that I have up there. This is what is called a Holy Grail coral, a micromusa. I was Googling and I saw all sorts of pictures of, fanciful pictures of gold goblets, and I said, this is the most beautiful grail I've ever seen. So I thought I would present this one. Now, the first half of today's talk is going to be a little bit of a lecture. Try not to snore too loudly. And the second half, I trust, will be somewhat inspiring, I hope. Okay, compassion is the holy grail of both the UU and of Buddhism, but the Buddhist view of it may be a little different. When we feel a strong caring, and we UUs care a lot, we help others a lot. One may think compassion is sympathy, and if one is not careful, you may follow with a sincere effort, but one that enables the recipient to continue a non-productive behavior, to continue making bad choices. Or we can give in a way that removes the recipient's agency, that takes away the growth sustained for him by providing for himself, maybe encouraging passivity and dependency. In the West, it took us a while to figure this out, and many of us still haven't. But we've come up with a concept that we call tough love, that we sometimes need to show caring for someone by withholding from her, thereby encouraging self-reliant and healthful behavior on her part. But we're not consistent with this. This is true in Buddhism, too, where we say that we can only truly exercise compassion through what we call effective action. The bottom line is that true compassion requires effective action, and that is built on discretion. But putting all of that aside, how does one find true compassion? It's okay to start with a warm, fuzzy, altruistic feeling, but as with everything else in Buddhism, it is only truly achieved by insight, by mindfulness, by establishing a different relationship with yourself and others. Your brain is continuously pulling the wool over your eyes. You need to brush that wool aside. It's all about seeing clearly. The essence of every school of Buddhism points to transcending of the self as the way to liberate each of us from the frequent dissatisfaction we experience. No matter what language they speak, what color of robes they wear, with or without ornate temples or pantheons of deities, long black robes in Japan, saffron robes in Thailand, white t-shirts in Laguna Beach, white shirt and blue jacket for the secular Buddhists from Stewart. Every type of Buddhism in the world is fundamentally about transcending the self. The self is the bogeyman. The self is the way we look at the world and everyone and everything in it. What's in it for me? The part of your brain Buddhists call the self does that relentlessly by pushing you to seek certain things and to avoid others, and tells you that if things don't go the way your self wants them to right away, you will be unhappy. In Sanskrit, that's called dukkha. But modern Buddhists think dissatisfaction is a better translation than suffering, or as I like to call it, anguish and dissatisfaction. I need some of this. This isn't what I want. The anguished view from the self is nothing short of a shackle. We are the prisoners of our DNA and our history, both personal and cultural. And each of us needs to free himself from the slavery imposed by his self. Instead of mindlessly reacting to every instruction your self gives you, you can learn insight to be able to see those feelings and ideas clearly as they arise without judgment, and perhaps make a less hurtful choice. And when you get there, and that occurs little by little and may only happen sometimes, you stop seeing the world only through your own eyes. You also begin to see it through the eyes of others. You begin to listen deeply when they speak. You don't just stare and smile politely while thinking about something you need to do tomorrow or waiting your turn to speak. I'm guilty, I've done that a lot. As I said, transcending the self is not easy. It's easier for some people than for others. I personally think transcendence is more difficult for young people, much easier for older people. Think about it. We have more time to meditate, and our emotions are not as strong as when we were young. Young people are so busy. They are driven. Their drives are so strong. They have it so tough. But surprisingly, some people seem to be born with a compassionate heart. They have natural insight. It seems that they feel for and give to others naturally, and I'm going to finish this talk in an odd way. I'm going to tell you about someone I knew briefly, someone who had that clarity of vision, and she seemingly acquired it naturally. She was not a practicing Buddhist. At least I don't think so for sure, because I never asked. I met her long before I came into contact with Buddhism or mindfulness, but she became a major inspiration for me. Her name is Janet Forbes, and this is the only image I could find of her. It's a bad photocopy from a now defunct newspaper in Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, where she lived at one time. Janet Forbes was a nurse in a psychiatric inpatient unit in Boston where I worked in 1972. That's over 50 years ago. Wow. She was a woman who could see past and not be shackled by her feelings. She was a heavy woman, not the physical type that many men would chase after. But in 1969, she and a doctor fell in love and were engaged to be married. Then he was shipped off to Vietnam. While serving there, his helicopter went down and he was killed. Janet embraced the enormous sadness she felt, but continued her life of service. She continued nursing, never married. Later in her life, traveled quite a bit to a lot of different countries. Her ability to see past herself was evident in a book she wrote that taught children how to communicate with someone else when the two of you don't have a language in common. Say hello with a smile. Somehow, then presidential candidate Edmund Muskie, remember him? became aware of her work and invited her to make a number of goodwill speaking engagements based on her philosophy. Let a smile be your handshake. Her talks took her to the United Nations in New York, where she addressed gatherings of new dignitaries from member nations on the subject of saying hello with a smile. Half a century ago, Janet Forbes was just a co-worker of mine, but she took the time to listen and be understanding with me. At that time, I was troubled, still had not found my lifelong career, and was virtually penniless. And I was not the only person she took time to listen to. Before that, back in 1963, when she worked at Peter Bent Brigham Hospital in Boston, she was scheduled to nurse someone who was living his last days. There were no hospices at that time. She sat with him for 3 consecutive mornings. His name was Robert Frost. When she arrived, she introduced herself and asked him what she could do for him. He said that he was troubled by people regularly knocking on his door, people that didn't really care but just wanted to see him because he was famous. He asked her to get rid of them. Henceforth, firmly but kindly, Janet turned away everyone that came to the door. She then asked Mr. Frost what he would like to do, and he asked her to read to him from the newspaper articles she thought he might like. She did that, and they talked. And they talked about each other, about the world. At the end of the 3rd day, he asked for a sheet of paper and a pen, wrote something on it, folded it, and handed it to her. 2 weeks later, Robert Frost died during the nighttime. This is the photocopy she gave me of what he wrote, Robert Frost's last letter. It reads, Peter Bent Hospital, January 9, 1963. Miss Forbes, I met you on a cloudy, dark day, and when you smiled and spoke, my room was filled with sunshine. The way you smiled at me has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. The lines in quotation come from a poem of his entitled A Dust of Snow. A dust of snow fell down on me, gave my heart a change of mood, saved some part of a day I had rued. The story does not end here, though. 7 years later, in 1970, Janet's telephone rang, and the conversation went something like this. Miss Forbes, this is the Catholic Archdiocese of Boston. As you know, our beloved Cardinal Cushing has just died. Will you be attending the funeral? Me? Why me? I didn't know the Cardinal. I'm not even Catholic. But you were a close friend of Robert Frost's, were you not? Apparently, in his last days, Frost spoke a number of times with the Cardinal, with whom he was very close. And he repeatedly talked about Janet, that she was one of the most remarkable people he had ever met, and strongly recommended the Cardinal get to know her. The Cardinal never took that opportunity, but he included her name in a short list of invitees to attend the funeral. Today, I cannot find Janet Forbes, but I'm grateful to have had her as a model and to have a practice that has allowed me to find some of the compassion that came so easily to her, so naturally. 3 days after that telephone conversation, Janet Forbes rode in the 5th car in the Cardinal's funeral procession, along with some of the Kennedy children. Wish peace and liberation for everyone. Amen. And now our final hymn, number 16. 'Tis a gift to be simple, please stand if you are able and willing. And we are going to sing it twice because there's only one stanza, so we will sing the whole thing twice. To be simple, 'tis a gift. To be free, 'tis a gift. To come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, to be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed. To turn, will be our delight, till by turning, we come round right. There's a gift to be simple, there's a gift to be free, there's a gift to come down where we ought to be. Right, of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed. To turn, will be our delight, till by turning, come out right. Thank you. Be seated. The closing words will be from Adrienne Rich, a gay woman in the 1930s, 40s. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed. I have to cast my lot with those who age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world. Thank you. And now we will have,
The postlude.
now we will have our postlude. Thank you. Go in peace.